Donald Trump had an enemy when he got to Washington, D.C. It is the deep state. The deep state hates Donald Trump. Nameless, faceless, cogs, and bureaucrats, an army of them, who control the levers of power in Washington. The deep state stays forever. And that is a cancer, a true cancer on everything that we do in this nation.
You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you.
General Milley raised the possibility that he thought if Trump was reelected, he would throw his opponents in jail. He said that he would be at the top of the list. Do you think that that's a real concern? And are you concerned that you could be on Trump's enemies list?
Well, sure. I think there are probably a lot of people that are potentially on such a list. I think General Milley's comment was he didn't think President Trump would be reelected. Well, I'm not so sure about that. So yeah, that's a real concern for many of us.
Trump recently said that your dealings with China were so egregious that in times gone by, the punishment would have been death.
That's right, he said that. That's correct.
President Biden is quite literally negotiating with terrorists and plans to release to Iran $6 billion in frozen assets. You know what negotiating with terrorists leads to? I'll share with you what that leads to. More Americans being kidnapped for ransom. $6 billion that Biden is so casually handing over to Tehran. What will it be used for? It will be used to fund state-sponsored terrorism.
Brutality is even underestimating Hamas act. Hamas is a religious movement, and they are raging a religious movement. They want to annihilate the Jewish people because they are Jewish people, because they are Jewish state. This is why they hate Israel. We just need to expose them for what they are. They are not a national movement.
He's calling out, saying, hey, Joe, get the F up. We in trouble, man.
Yeah, listen, I was looking today, and Ziggy Marley has on his Instagram, free Palestine from Hamas.
This is not diplomacy or statesmanship. This is signing a deal with the devil.
The Secretary of State, Tony Blinken, arrived here yesterday, and he had a 7-hour meeting in our war cabinet. Tony Blinken wasn't trying to help Israel at all. What he was doing was demanding that Israel enable resupply to Gaza, the euphemism of which is humanitarian aid. The administration demanded that Israel invite President Biden to come. He wants to come.
Now, how did we get here? And you go, how does somebody get equipment, arms, vehicles, all of this stuff without being noticed? Palestinian Authority, U.S. assistance is training and equipping security forces. They have an issue with getting the equipment to them. All right, so where do they get it out of? Jordan. Look at the date on this. May 10th, 2010. This is back in the Kenyans days. U.S. training and arming 5,000 Palestinian Authority troops in Jordan. Remember, I just said this is how they get it in. It comes across Jordan. All right. And then here you go. Look at this. U.S. reinstates hundreds of millions in funding to Palestinians, reversing the Trump decision. This is from March of this year. Blinken builds a Palestinian Hezbollah in the West Bank. The Biden administration looks to Lebanize Israel with a new U.S.-funded terror army. Secretary of State Blinken says Iran always used funds for terrorism. Hamas tells BBC they had Iran's direct backing. So, Biden administration releases billions to Iran weeks before the Israeli attack. This was October 8th. All the way back to 2010, we started putting funds into Palestinian Authority. We've talked about splitting up, making it a two-state solution.
We have all of our forces poised at the border with Gaza, waiting to go in. The international media has already turned on Israel and is now acting as though while Hamas is holding more than 200 Israeli hostages in Gaza and torturing them and raping them and everything else that we know that they're doing there. We have the International Press Corps braying and saying that it's all Israel's fault, and we have all these Hamas supporters throughout the Western world who are feeling empowered. The answer that the commanders in the Southern Command have received from hires is that we can't do anything until Biden leaves. Blinken was sitting in the cabinet. He was demanding that Israel provide humanitarian aid to Gaza. But during Protective Edge in 2014, we had the same phenomenon. We were targeted from an UNRWA school that was being used as a missile launcher. We even had photographic evidence that they were shooting the missiles at Israel from the courtyard of this specific school.
Their strength that they are hiding behind children and women and many civilians. They surprised Israel on Yom Kippur. It's a holiday, you know, and then they ran very quickly to hide and use human shields.
And so we bombed the school. And there was Jen Psaki, who's now at MSNBC, I think, and she was the White House spokesperson. And she gets up and starts condemning Israel for targeting civilian targets.